Welcome. This is Life Coach Myrna Young, and you have tuned in to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and now television program. I want to welcome my newest audience, which is my audience from the Preach the Word Worldwide Television Network. Welcome. So today we have an exciting topic. For all you single ladies and single men out there, we are going to be talking on the topic of how does one find success in dating during COVID-19. And my guest today is none other than dating and relationship coach, Anwar White. Welcome, Anwar.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Excellent. Yes, I'm so happy to have this conversation. So I'm, helping you single women and men maybe get some tips, because I know we're in some unprecedented times where everything is remote. Nobody can meet in person. And I know that that's, having some challenges. So Anwar is going to share some tips. But since we have a new audience, I want to include some information on Christian dating.
Yeah.
So, the Bible says in 2 Corinthians that do not be unequally yoked, which means that Christian should look for partners in marriage where both of them share the same faith, beliefs, practices such as praying, reading the Bible, and going to church. And single women and men still need to date and find the right partners. So which is why we're going to be talking about how to effectively date during COVID-19. So Anwar, tell us your journey to becoming a dating coach. And I also know that you host your own podcast, which is called How to Get Your Guy. So I guess the conversation is towards women. So can you explain your journey and what you guys do on your podcast as we start?
Of course. So again, thank you so much for having me. My name is Anwar White, and I have been, helping the boys talk to the girls and the girls talk to the boys ever since elementary school. I've been always someone who's been able to speak with anyone and everyone, right? And be able to connect with so many different people. And so that's what I started kind of doing this work. It wasn't until I had really gotten my MBA and I was kind of catching up with all of my, female classmates. And I was trying to figure out, how they were doing, what was going on with them, and everything was going well in their life except for love.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy to me because these are the most amazing people that I had ever met in my entire life, right? And so I took it upon myself, since I am a very type A kind of person. I was just like, okay, we're going to figure this out, girl. So I was like, I'm taking over your love life and we're going to get this solved because this doesn't make any sense. And so I slowly started working with a variety of my former classmates, and we got a lot of really great success. They were having boyfriends very quickly, and we're getting married within 2 years, and they were telling more and more and more people in terms of working with me. And then I got certified as a relationship coach, and during that certification I was working with women, and thousands of women and men all around the world. So I don't want your listeners to think that I just know about women. I also am very focused on how men are thinking about dating, relationships, and love as well. And then I've been kind of doing my own thing as an entrepreneur and coaching women all around the world, specifically women of color, smart and successful women of color, how to heal their heart, how to date effectively, and then obviously, as the namesake of my coaching program and my podcast, get their guy.
How to get your guy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So that's a good story. So it sounds like you were born with the aptitude for this work, because when people start doing things earlier on, that means that this is something that you were, and you've got the personality too, all the smiles and everything. So that's great.
Girl, you really shouldn't be flirting with me on your own podcast.
That's true. That's right. So that's awesome. Right. So before, COVID started, the online dating world was doing quite well because, like you said, you talked to a lot of successful women and men, and they weren't able to connect. Something was missing. Everybody is looking. The guys are looking, the girls are looking, and nobody is connecting. So, that was a space for the online dating world to explode. But now they are experiencing, I guess, unprecedented growth, because that's the only place now that you can, for the last year, that's the only place that you can meet someone. So how do you think dating is forever changed because of COVID-19? And second part to that question is, how can, singles find success dating during COVID times? Do you have a special information or how they do it online, or you've got any other tips?
Yeah. Okay. So the first question was about what exactly?
How do
I'm a one question success, at a time kind of guy.
Well, there isn't really a question. It's like dating will be forever changed because of COVID-19. So, okay. So maybe you can start with that. How do you think that we will be changed forever? Would we stick to the online dating thing, or people are going to scoot back to churches and bars and all those places and sporting events that they did before? Right.
I think about this the same way I think about online purchases and e-commerce. Right? Good. Obviously, during the last year, we have been buying most of everything online. And so that's represented, let's say, 80% of how we purchase things. I think it's the same way with dating right now as well, where I know for the clients that I work with, that is the primary way that they are meeting future partners, right? Or just dating in general.
Right.
It's not to say that that's going to be forever the case. I do think that when things open up and things become, let's say, more normalized, that people are still going to be meeting people in real life much more often, right? I think like e-commerce represented 20% of the way that we shopped in general. And that it's crazy because it's similar in terms of online dating as well. Like roughly 20% of relationships came from online dating.
Right.
Now, that looks like a little bit more like 40 and 50%, right?
That's all? I thought you were going to say 80. So it's only 40 to 50%?
Well, I'm talking about more like e-commerce annually for 2020, right? And it's kind of like a weighted average. I'm pretty sure that things are going to open up later this year. And so I would assume that it's going to be a higher margin than 20%. It's going to look like 40 and 50%, closer to 40% or so, just like e-commerce. Right. We're shopping for love when it comes to online dating. And it's the same mentality that people are thinking about when they're looking for love. So yes, it has changed this year. Is it going to look like that forever? Definitely not. It'll definitely go back and normalize. Like I was at the malls during the holiday season, right? The malls were packed. It's not like we're not going to not shop in stores. And so we're not going to stop dating in real life or meeting people in real life. We yearn for connection. We're human beings. It's what we need, right? And so to think that all of a sudden, just because there's another way to do it, that we're going to abandon the way that we've always been doing it, I think is not something that is going to be realistic.
Okay. All right. So let me remind you of the second question. So how can one find success dating during COVID times? And as you were talking, I actually had this, download that maybe people were running from the online dating before because they didn't think that it was normal. But something tells me that maybe they're having much more success online than they are meeting someone at a bar. So can you touch on that too?
Yeah. I think that it's interesting. So success is going to look differently for everyone, right? I think for some people, success is actually just having conversations, right? And just talking with other people. For other people, it's going to look like actually having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And for other people, it's going to be getting married, right? So, or just getting out there. So I guess it's important for your listeners to also understand exactly what their what their definition of success is when it comes to dating and relationships first and foremost. And that's going to be different for everyone.
All right, let me interrupt you there though. But if someone is dating, where I was going with this is that I would think in my generation, if I'm dating, I want to get married. And the reason I hesitated on that question is because some people now, you're right, marriage is not their end goal. So
no, it isn't. No, it isn't. And it's funny, I work with clients all around the world, and my clients have different wants and desires. Right, marriage is not the end all be all for some people, right? For most, it is.
Yes, right.
So that's what I'm saying. But again, I'm thinking about this in stages, right? Like maybe I don't want to be married now, but I might want to be married in a couple of years. Then I'm not necessarily ready for marriage right now, but I am ready to dip my toe in the water, or to have conversations, or to make connections. So that's why I say, like, what is your goal, or what is success for you, is something that is very important for you to establish first and foremost before you enter into what I call the dating game, the love game, right? To enter into this sphere, this realm of dating, first and foremost. Secondly, I think it's important for us to realize kind of where we are at as a people, as a society, right?
Ladies, what are you doing this Easter Sunday? It's a grand time to look your best in the house of God. And man, do we have the store for you. It is the Great Expectation Store. Folks up there in New York City have been keeping it a secret. Well, no more. Cat's out of the bag. Head over to greatexpectationstore.com for your one-of-a-kind dresses, fabulous hats, and holiest footwear. Get dressed for church at greatexpectationstore.com.
I think COVID and the pandemic and being quarantined has really shifted the way that a lot of people are thinking about life and reprioritizing it. That's why people are, creating new businesses, completely changing their careers, right? Doing more creative endeavors. Because it was a moment for us to actually really think about our mortality, right? It was these existential crises that a lot of individuals that were having about what is my legacy going to be? What do I really want? What are the voids in my life, and how can I fill them? What have I been avoiding that I shouldn't, because tomorrow is not promised, right? And so I'm bringing all of these things up because I think it's important for us to understand that people are more open to actually having serious relationships and connection with other individuals, probably more than in our lifetime, because of this pandemic, right? Because, and you can even feel that if you're married or actually, partnered with anyone, even in your friendships, there's this desire that I still want more and more connection. So I say that to say, we're in an environment where you have the highest probability of being successful because people are actually ready, and they weren't as ready before. And so, the other thing that I want to say about kind of these times is that it has changed the way that people are dating, right? And I'm saying this because to be successful, we have to be open-minded and understand these things, that the acceleration or the velocity of courtship has slowed down. And before, it would be like, I would get your number and then we would go out and that would be it, right? Now we're going to chat for a little bit. We might have a few phone calls. We might have a video call, and then we might go on our actual first in real life date, right? Completely different in terms of the time, energy that one is getting to know another person. And in doing that, what happens is that you have a higher probability of actually connecting with someone, right? Even before the first date. And it's so different than it was back then, because before I'd be like, okay, let me have your number. Let's figure out a date. Let's go out. And you would have a date within 3 days, right? Now it takes
that makes sense.
It takes 2 or 3 weeks. right? To
Or
actually
longer,
go on a
I'm sure.
physical date.
Right.
And because also
There's no
everyone
place
has
to go.
that, but also everyone has different levels of their, I want to say, COVID comfortabilityness, right? Everyone's different and has a different comfortability level when it comes to COVID. I know for the clients that I work with, right? I have some people that I'll go out, like I don't care. Other people are like, no, I'm not ready. I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Respect that. That's valid. And everyone else that they're engaged with kind of has to respect that too. And that's why this courtship phase is a little bit kind of spread out and slower, which I think is actually really good and it's exciting. And that's why I want to encourage everyone out there that this would be the time to actually be dating, that you're going to be successful because you get to know people much better.
Yes. What I think COVID has pointed out to people is that we're social beings, and there's something that says you don't miss something until you lose it. And being closeted, not being able to go out and not being able to do things before, you were taking it for granted. But after you're being closeted and locked down for a long time, it started making people crazy. So it brought to the forefront, if you are without a partner, or you were without friends, and you're without someone to talk to. So you're right. I think that the women and men that were going around saying, I don't need anybody, it's highlighting the fact that, I need people, and I need a relationship, or I need someone to talk to, or I just need somebody to connect with.
Netflix and video games can only last you for so long before you're like, what else is there, right? The other thing that I wanted to say really quickly too about success in online dating is that, and especially specifically in this time, is that this time has also given us a lot of time to self-reflect and to have more self-awareness. And so if that's something that you have been avoiding or not trying to do, right, that is something that's going to contribute to your success during these times as well. Because what I know about doing this and doing this well, and I have been doing this for about 10 years now, is that you have to bring your whole entire self to this love game, or you're not going to be successful. If you're bringing facades, if you're, not addressing the things that you have been avoiding or ignoring or ashamed of, and you're hiding those parts of yourself, then people are not really getting to know you and being able to love you fully. So this time has also given people the opportunity, and I'm hoping for those people out there still now, the opportunity to address and heal some of those things, so that when they are meeting their person, that they can be ready to be the best partner that they can be.
So are you thinking that they're doing a self-reflection themselves, or they're hiring a coach like you, for instance?
Some are hiring a coach, definitely. I think the coaching industry has actually, people think that it wouldn't do well. It's exploded. It's exponential, right? Because they have actually had the time and space to sit back, exhale, and be like, oh, I'm not happy about these things. Instead of like working and doing that rat race, I had time, right? Like, oh, these are the things that I'm unhappy about. These are the things I'm stuck on. Let me get help with that, right? There's not much else for me to do, so let me work on myself. Right? So yes, I think some people are getting coaching or getting help. The majority of people are doing it on their own as well. And that works out too. That works out well too. I just think that coaching and coaches can help you with those blind spots to accelerate that work and potentially that healing to get you to your goal, whatever that may be.
Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, because I know 95% of us are not living a conscious life, which means that they can't sit down and, see their blind spots, or see, well, you know what? I mean, have this self-reflection that says, you know what? I'm 50 and I'm still single and I'm unmarried. What do you think that is contributing to that? I mean, not very many people can sit down and actually do that self-reflection unless they read a book, maybe listen to a podcast, or maybe get a coach. But they need some kind of input in order to go into those areas and do an actual self-reflection, which is why I basically asked you. So that's good. So the question I have here, what are the top dating mindsets shifts that are critical to successful dating? So you started by talking a minute ago to bringing your whole self to a relationship. And I've never been on a dating site, so I can't talk to it with any kind of experience or any kind of truth. But my opinion of it is that a lot of people go on there and they hide, which is basically what you just said. They put up these pictures that are not like themselves, and they put up these profiles that says they like all these different things, and it's not really them. And which is why when you get to talk to them, you're finding that what they're saying over here on the right is different from saying over here on the left. So with that in mind, what kind of mindset shift do you think that has to happen for people to be successful in relationships, not only online dating, but in person? Because again, you go on a first date and you don't always share yourself. You always trying to pretend and do something different. You know what I mean? Because you want someone to like you, or you want to have this whole big facade. So
yeah, I think there are a couple of things when I think about kind of mindset shifts when it comes to dating. I think a lot of people try to date their clone, someone who's just like them. So if I am, from the Caribbean and I am Christian and I work in IT, I have clients like this, right? Yes. That they think that I should find someone that's just like that. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's not necessarily the case. And most people don't date like that, right? And I actually have a really great success rate in terms of getting my clients and finding their person. That's not how it generally looks like. The person that you think in your head that you idealize in terms of who you want to be with, generally, for the most part, is someone... the love is there, but the package comes differently, right? And so I think it's important for us to realize that we have to be more open-minded when it comes to dating, and realize that it's not about what their resume or what their paper looks like. It's really about how they're making me feel and how they're treating me, right? People, I think a lot of people will be, and it's different for men and women, right? I think women will be looking at, what kind of education he has, what sort of money he makes. Sometimes does he own his own home, right? Those sorts of things. Right. And, I work with smart and successful women, and my clients are like, go to Harvard and Yale. I actually got a text message from my client last night after a date. And she was saying, the date was really well. He's amazing. But she was having some hesitancy because, he's an office manager and he took a little bit too long to calculate the tip. And I'm like, girl, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But I'm saying that we have to shift our mindset around, well, actually, you had an amazing time, right? And you connected with this person, right? And on the men's side, it's about really how she looks, right? And how seductive she is, and her curvature and all of that. So we have to think beyond that and really focus in on the things that are going to fulfill us from a long-term perspective, right? Because chemistry, right? And this is another kind of mindset shift that I want us to be thinking about. I want us to be focusing on compatibility, right? Which is about how we vibe, how we connect, how we mesh, and I always think of compatibility is like, can we make 1,000 decisions in one day together? Because that's really what being in a relationship is all about.
You're meshing with your thinking and your thought process.
You have to be able to be on the same page on a lot of different things, right? Or you're going to be arguing about every little thing. Right. The mindset shift is about prioritizing compatibility over chemistry. And I think a lot of people are focused on the chemistry when they're dating and not the compatibility. The chemistry meaning, do I have those butterflies in my stomach, right? And the problem with that, I think that that's great. And there should be some of that, but that shouldn't be the be all end all, because ultimately chemistry chemically and biologically, it fades within 18 months of our body.
Right. Yeah, right. Yes, yes.
So after 18 months, if that's all you had, if you just wanted to, right, if that's what you were kind of writing.
Then you're in a marriage with the kids and you're thinking one thing and she's thinking something and your parenting styles are different and that whole thing, right?
But that's why you see, like, when you look at divorce rates, those first 2 years are so crucial.
Right.
Because oftentimes what happens is that chemistry starts to fade during that time. And then you don't have much of anything.
You don't have,
So I want us to be prioritizing compatibility over chemistry. And that's a shift that doesn't happen automatically. That's something that you have to like continue to work toward in terms of being able to date and to be looking for things in a different way, right? So yeah, I talked about not dating your clone. I talked about compatibility over chemistry. I also think it's important for us, and I hinted toward this, but like really understanding the things, what's on your checklist, and if that checklist is serving you or not, right? Like I said before, if you're a woman out there and you want a guy that is making 6 figures, that's great. But that's only like 9% of the population, right? If you want a guy out there that is 6 feet taller, right? That's good. I think that's roughly like 8% of the population of men, right? I'm talking to women now. If you want someone with a graduate degree, that's like 6% of people out there, right? If you want someone that owns a home, I think it's like 20% or something like that. So if you multiply all of that together, right, it's maybe 1%, if that. And that's not even taking into account if that person likes you back or not.
Right. Which is really the main thing, because yes, you don't like everybody, even if the checklist is fine. You don't always like them because it's a biological thing, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely true. The other thing that I like to tell my clients is that you have to know how this love game works, right? And what I know about it is that 9 out of the 10 people that you meet are not going to be the one. Right? Knowing the numbers ahead of time, I think saves your heart and saves any of the mental chatter or stories that you tell yourself that don't serve you, right? 9 out of 10. But it also means that you got to go out on 10 dates.